You won't believe these kids were accidentally left behind. Parents who think they would never leave their child in a hot car should reconsider. Anyone can experience such a situation. According to noheatstroke.org, over 900 kids have perished in a hot car since 1998, and more than half of them had their caretakers leave them there unintentionally. The stresses that parents experience daily can increase the likelihood of these memory lapses, according to a renowned neuroscience researcher who is researching the role of memory in such tragedies. Welcome back to Just Scary. Some cases where parents or caregivers accidentally left behind their kids are discussed as follows. 1. A suburban Atlanta father will appear in court and face charges after his toddler passed away after being left in a car for 7 hours on a hot July day. Charges of second-degree child cruelty and murder are brought against Justin Ross Harris. With his 22-month-old son, Cooper, Justin Ross Harris, a parent from Marietta, Georgia, stopped at a Chick-fil-A for breakfast in June 2014. Cooper was left in a rear-facing car seat in a hot parking lot for 7 hours before the father departed for work. Cooper perished. According to Mr. Harris, his son's death was an accident. However, the prosecution continued with a murder charge. They discovered that on his son's passing, Mr. Harris had communicated with at least 6 women, one of whom was a minor. The prosecution and the jury both agreed that Mr. Harris wanted to be without his son. Mr. Harris was found guilty and given a life sentence. He is currently appealing. 2. 7 years had passed since Balfour spent hours at work and left her 9-month-old son Bryce in the back seat. She had to act quickly that morning to handle an emergency at her workplace in Charlottesville, Virginia. Her routine was irregular. Bryce was dropped off at a daycare as usual by her. In contrast to his customary location behind the passenger seat, the 9-month-old was placed in a car seat right behind the driver's seat on that particular day. After parking, she entered her office to begin working. 3. In 2014, a father in upstate New York dropped his 2 older kids off at school, parked his car outside his house, and headed to work. His 15-month-old daughter died of heat stroke because dad neglected to see that she was still in her car seat. 4. 2 years later, a baby boy died identically to the previous entry as his father, a police officer, was off doing chores in another upstate town while the child sweltered to death in the car seat. 5. In another similar occurrence, a social worker from the suburb of Rockland County, located northwest of New York City, dropped off his 4-year-old at a daycare and headed to work at a hospital in the Bronx, leaving his 1-year-old twins to perish in the heat in his car. 6. After leaving her infant daughter Jada in a parking lot while she worked a shift at a pediatrician's office in West Hempstead, Yesenia Brito of Long Island was charged with criminally negligent homicide. She initially lied, according to the police, and asked about where the youngster was. She later expressed regret for leaving the child in the car and claimed she didn't believe the infant would suffer any harm when she was sentenced. She received a 1-year prison term. 7. After being found by her mother, a 1-year-old baby girl sadly became the 20th kid to pass away in a hot car in 2021. The youngster's death was Texas's second hot car-related fatality this year. 145 hot car fatalities have occurred in the state since 1991, ranking it first in the nation, according to kidsandcars.org, a group that keeps track of these tragedies and promotes safety measures. At around 8:30 a.m., her mother dropped off her 2 older children, ages 3 and 5, at a daycare, also intending to drop off the infant. The 1-year-old was found motionless in the car that evening and was declared dead more than 9 hours later by medical personnel. 8. Even the most careful parents are capable of making the most terrible errors. Except for the baby oversleeping, May 25, 2011 was an ordinary day in Christy Reeves' home. While Mrs. Reeves got ready for a conference call at home, her husband, Brett Cavaliero, would drop off their 1-year-old daughter, Sophia Rayeni Ray Cavaliero, at daycare. But the day would end tragically, and Reeves is forever replaying the incident that killed her daughter not long after her first birthday in her head. So, the question arises, why does this happen? Are parents being careless, or is it a psychological thing? Let us discuss this. If you are enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and press the bell icon for more updates. There is a study on why parents and caregivers sometimes forget their children in cars and other places. This is called the forgotten baby syndrome. When parents unintentionally leave a baby or a young child in a locked car, it is then known as a forgotten baby syndrome, and it frequently has tragic outcomes. The medical justification explains how a parent can leave their car without worrying about the kid in the back seat. When parents concentrate on upcoming duties rather than the present, the syndrome of the forgotten baby frequently happens. A peaceful or sleeping baby may be in grave danger if the parent adopts this attitude. The parent who leaves their child in the car unattended doesn't always have the same personality. Parents of all types of race and gender identities, socioeconomic statuses, levels of education, and temperaments are impacted by the forgotten baby syndrome. The most frequent causes of forgetting a youngster in the car are routine changes or careless multitasking on the part of the parent. Parents who don't typically send their child to daycare or a babysitter will frequently take the same route to and from work each day. In these circumstances, the parents automatically take the standard route. Most fatalities are unintentional. In 84% of the cases over the past 3 decades, children entered a vehicle on their own or were unintentionally left behind. A change in routine and the way our brains are wired, according to mental health experts, are the natural causes of a parent forgetting their child in a moving vehicle. The medical diagnosis for how a parent can leave their automobile without noticing their child is still inside is called the forgotten baby syndrome, as previously mentioned. The neurobiology of FBS is a topic that Dr. David Diamond, a professor of psychology, molecular pharmacology, and physiology at the University of South Florida, Tampa, regularly studies. Dr. Diamond claims that people conduct daily activities that become automatic, require no conscious thought, and are consistently controlled by a brain region known as the motor cortex. A good illustration is taking the same route each day as you head home from work. We eventually become able to perform it seemingly automatically. In essence, our motor memory frees us up to think about the future while accomplishing the activity at hand, Dr. Diamond argues. The part of the brain that makes obvious decisions, such as whether to stop at the supermarket on your way back home from work, is the next. The hippocampus is what's in charge of our brain's cognitive functions. What occurs to a human body inside a heated vehicle? The fact that heat stroke is a terrible way to pass away should go without saying. The inability to flee the heat causes intense panic in the final minutes of a child's life. You risk suffering from a heat stroke if your body can't maintain a core temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or less. Children's bodies are less capable of controlling their body temperatures than that of adults, and they also don't sweat as much as adults. In addition, a child's body warms up 3 to 5 times more quickly than that of an adult. Depending on their age, children might not be able to flee the car, get out of their safety seats, or take off their clothes to cool off. One of 2 things will happen after roughly 20 minutes of heat exposure. 1. If a child is still conscious, they will be afraid and panicked about not being able to escape. 2. Most children will pass out and become paralyzed. So, in conclusion, one should never leave a youngster unattended in a car without an adult present. In 60 minutes, a car may reach 123 degrees Fahrenheit in 80 degrees weather. Parents should always use caution and be aware of where their children are currently at. And that brings us to the ending of today's video. For more content like this, please do like our video and subscribe to our channel, Just Scary, and do hit that bell icon for further notifications so you will never miss out on our content. Thank you for your attention.